Vayera, and he appeared. Outline of Torah Portion. Three visitors. Adonai appeared to Abraham by the oaks of Mamre as he sat at the entrance to the tent during the heat of the day. Genesis chapter 18, verse 1. Abraham looked and he saw three men. In spite of his discomfort and heat of the day, he ran up to them and invited them for a meal. These men, or the three strangers, were later found to be angels visiting Abraham and Sarah to give them a good news. One of the angels speaks directly on God's behalf, and he is referred to as the Lord himself. In the past, the Lord appeared to people in the Bible in a form known as the angel of the Lord. Angel of the Lord appeared in various angelic forms. Here he appears as one of the three travelers. In Exodus, he appeared as a burning bush. He also went before Israel in the pillar of fire and the cloud. When he speaks for God in the first person and identifies himself as the Lord. Some believe that these encounters with the angel of the Lord are in fact encounters with Yeshua. After greeting them, Abraham hurried to the tent and instructed to prepare the meal for the visitors. He set curds, milk, and the calf which was prepared and set it before the men. When Abraham saw the visitors, he did not know that they were angels. He hurried to them, greeted them, and prostrated himself on the ground. He treated them with exceptional hospitality, which indeed is a remarkable example all believers can follow. As it is also written in Hebrew 13:2, but don't forget to be friendly to outsiders, for in so doing, some people, without knowing it, have entertained angels. Food for the angels. The traditional Judaism prohibit eating meat and milk together, citing the commandment given in Exodus chapter 34, verse 26. You shall not boil a young goat in its mother's milk. It is said that meat and dairy cannot be mixed or even consumed at the same meal. But in Messianic Judaism, it is believed that separation of meat and dairy is not biblical. Rather, the commandment in Exodus chapter 34, verse 26 is to respect life. Sages taught that angels don't eat. Yeshua HaMashiach also taught that angels don't reproduce. We can assume that angels don't eat or relieve themselves. In fact, they really didn't eat. They only appeared to eat. They didn't want to be offensive. What we can learn from this is that to keep the local custom so that those around will not be offended. Promise of Isaac. Just to give a little bit of history about the promise of Isaac given to Abraham. It all began when God wanted Abraham out of the city of Ur, away from his relatives and from his father's house. God had a specific destination for Abraham. At Shechem, God said, to your descendants I will give you this land. Genesis chapter 12, verse 7. Again, after parting from his nephew, Lord said to him, arise, walk about the land through its length and breadth, for I will give it to you. Genesis chapter 13, verse 17. At one of the encounters Abraham had with Adonai, he took Abraham outside and said, now look towards the heavens and count the stars, if you are able to count them. And he said to him, so shall your descendants be. Genesis chapter 15, verse 5. I will establish my covenant between me and you, and I will multiply you exceedingly. Genesis chapter 17, verse 2. And you shall be circumcised in the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be the sign of the covenant between me and you. Genesis chapter 17, verse 11. All these promises were given by Adonai to Abraham direct. But when the three visitors came, one of them asked, where is Sarah, your wife? Abraham replied, there in the tent. Genesis chapter 18, verse 9. One of them said, I will surely return to you at this time next year, and behold, Sarah, your wife, will have a son. Genesis chapter 18, verse 10. At this point, Abraham realized that it is the angel of the Lord that is speaking to him. When Sarah heard prediction of the birth of the child, she laughed to herself. Genesis chapter 18, verse 12. Sarah knew that she was far beyond her childbearing years. Angel of the Lord asked, why did Sarah laugh? Sarah denied that she laughed, for it was only in her thoughts that she laughed, as Torah says. Sarah laughed within herself, but the angel of the Lord said, no, but you did laugh. Nothing is hidden from God, not even our thoughts or feelings. He knows everything. God appeared to Abraham on Shavuot. The angel of the Lord said, in 1 year you will have a son, which means Isaac was born on Shavuot. Sarah too believed, for it is written, by faith Sarah herself received ability to conceive even beyond the proper time of life, since she considered him faithful who had promised. Hebrew chapter 11, verse 11. Outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah. When the angels got up to leave, they looked down towards Sodom. Abraham walked with them to see them on their way. Then the Lord said, shall I hide from Abraham what I am about to do? Abraham will surely become a great and powerful nation, and all nations on earth will be blessed through him. For I have chosen him, so that he will direct his children and his household after him to keep the way of the Lord by doing what is right and just, so that the Lord will bring about for Abraham what he has promised him. Genesis chapter 18, verse 17 to 19. The three angels that visited Abraham had three different purposes or tasks to achieve: to give glad tidings to Sarah, to overturn Sodom and Gomorrah, to rescue Lot and his family. Then the Lord said, the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is so great, that their sin so grievous, that I will go down and see if what they have done is as bad as the outcry that has reached me. If not, I will know. Genesis chapter 18, verse 20 and 21. Abraham was righteous, a man of compassion, and he did not want destruction to come on Sodom and Gomorrah. He also knew his nephew lived there, even though he heard and understood that he is going to be blessed. He started interceding on behalf of those that were destined to be perished. Abraham started to negotiate with the angel of the Lord. Abraham pleaded with God, saying, you are just in everything you do. You will not destroy righteous and the wicked together. The Lord relents and agrees that he will not destroy Sodom if he finds 50 righteous people in that place. The pleading goes on until the number is brought down to 10 righteous people. The Lord agrees, for the sake of 10 righteous people, I will not destroy it. However, not even 10 righteous people were found in Sodom and Gomorrah. Depravity of Sodom. Now the two angels came to Sodom in the evening as Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. When Lot saw them, he rose to meet them and bowed down with his face to the ground. Genesis chapter 19 verse 1. Lot invited the two visitors home. They declined, saying that they will spend the night in the square. But Lot insisted so strongly that the visitors did go with Lot to his house. Lot was hospitable towards them, prepared a meal too for them. But just before they settled for the night, all the men from every part of the city, old and young, surrounded the house. They asked, "Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us so that we can have sex with them." Genesis chapter 19 verse 5. When Lot declined, the men of the city brought more pressure on Lot and moved to break down the door. The angels had to pull Lot inside the house and struck the men outside with blindness so that they could not find the door. At that point, angels declared that they will destroy that place. An old Jewish tradition claimed that the main sin of the men of Sodom and Gomorrah was their inhospitable welcome to strangers. We know how Abraham treated the three visitors. Likewise, Lot too treated the visitors well. There are many Jewish tales that speaks of how bad the people of Sodom and Gomorrah treated guests and strangers. According to Talmud, the problem of Sodom and Gomorrah can be identified as sexual immorality, stinginess, blasphemy, selfishness, burglary, encroachment, extortion, and injustice, and they were inhospitable. Clement, the disciple of Peter, said, "On account of hospitality and godliness, Lot was saved out of Sodom, when all the country around was punished by means of fire and brimstone, the Lord thus making it manifest that he does not forsake those that hope in him, but gives up such as depart from him to punishment and torture." 1 Clement chapter 11 verse 1. Yeshua HaMashiach himself spoke these words to his disciples: "Whoever does not receive you, nor heed your words as you go out of that house or that city, shake the dust off your feet. Truly I say to you, it will be more tolerable for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than for that city." Matthew chapter 10 verse 14 and 15. Sodom and Gomorrah destroyed. By the time Lot reached Zoar, the sun had risen over the land. Then the Lord rained down burning sulfur on Sodom and Gomorrah out of the heavens. Thus he overthrew those cities and the entire plain, including all those living in the cities and also the vegetation in the land. But Lot's wife looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. Genesis chapter 19 verse 22 to 26. The destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah was a warning given to those that live ungodly lives. Peter the Apostle says, God condemned the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah to destruction by reducing them to ashes, having made them an example to those who would live ungodly lives thereafter. 2 Peter chapter 2 verse 6. Yeshua HaMashiach said in Matthew chapter 10 verse 14 and 15 that the cities that did not welcome and did not show hospitality towards his disciples would face harsher judgment than Sodom and Gomorrah on the day of judgment. In another instance, he said, it will be more tolerable for Sodom and Gomorrah on the day of judgment than it will for the inhabitants of the cities that heard and saw the miracles that Yeshua performed but did not repent. So we learn that there are two different judgments for human beings. Judgment in this world, such as what Sodom and Gomorrah endured, and a judgment in the world to come. Shameful origin of Moab and Ammon. Lot and his 2 daughters left Zoar and settled in the mountains, for he was afraid to stay in Zoar. He and his 2 daughters lived in a cave. Genesis chapter 19, verse 30. Lot's daughters thought that the whole earth has been destroyed and they are the sole survivors. The older daughter said, "There is no man around here to lie with us, as is the custom all over the earth." Genesis chapter 19, verse 31. They wanted to preserve the family line through their father. Thus both the daughters of Lot were with child by their father. Genesis chapter 19, verse 36. Lot's disregard for his daughters was displayed when he offered them to the perverts in the city of Sodom to protect himself and the visitors. Genesis chapter 19, verse 8. He failed to protect his daughters from shame and dishonor, and it came back on him, and he suffered shame and dishonor at their hands. Both daughters had sons. Eldest daughter named her son Moab. He is the father of Moabites. Second daughter named her son Ben-Ami. He is the father of Ammonites. Abimelech kidnapped Sarah in Gerar. Abraham traveled from there towards the Negev and lived between Kadesh and Shur. While living as an alien in Gerar, Abraham was saying of Sarah, his wife, "She is my sister." So Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent and took Sarah. Genesis chapter 20, verse 1 and 2. In the previous Torah portion, we read how Sarah was abducted when they were in Egypt. The same situation arises when they were in the territory of Philistine. As the previous occasion, Abraham thought that there is no fear of God in that place. He feared that they will kill him to get his wife. Sarah was 90 years old when she was kidnapped the second time. She may have not looked 90, as God restored her youth so she could have Isaac. She must have looked very beautiful. God said to Abimelech in a dream, "Yes, I know that. In doing this, your heart has been pure, and I too have kept you from sinning against me. This is why I didn't let you touch her. Therefore, return the man's wife to him now. He is a prophet, and he will pray for you, so that you will live. But if you don't return her, know that you will certainly die, you and all who belong to you." God intervened in this occasion too, and Sarah was returned to Abraham. Abraham failed in his assessment of Abimelech's people. They had fear of God and respected God's people, and they promptly rectified the situation. To Sarah he said, "Before everyone, you are cleared." We too may encounter certain challenges over and over, but with persistent faith, we can overcome them. Birth of Isaac. Adonai said to Abraham, "Sarah, your wife, will bear you a son, and you shall call his name Isaac." Genesis chapter 17, verse 19 means he will laugh. When the 3 angels visited Abraham and Sarah, and one of them prophesied that Sarah would bear a son, she laughed to herself. But as it was prophesied, a year later, Sarah held her baby son Isaac in her arms. She said, "God had made laughter for me. Everyone who hears will laugh with me. Genesis chapter 21, verse 6. Abraham's and Sarah's journey of faith was not easy. Their faith was tested many times. They waited for a long time to receive the blessing. God is faithful that He kept His covenant promise to Abraham. As it is said in Genesis chapter 18, verse 14, nothing is so difficult for the Lord. Akedah of Isaac, Abraham's 10th test of faith. Binding of Isaac was the greatest test of faith Abraham had to endure. Adonai said, "Take now your son, your only son, whom you love, Isaac, and go to the land of Moriah, and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains of which I will tell you." Genesis chapter 22, verse 2. When Adonai first spoke to Abraham, He said to go forth from his hometown. And again Abraham is tested by God, commanding him to go forth to Mount Moriah. Abraham did not hesitate. Instead, he rose early in the morning and traveled towards Mount Moriah. When Isaac questioned Abraham about the lamb for the sacrifice, Abraham replied with confidence, "God will provide for Himself the land for the burnt offering, my son." Genesis chapter 22, verse 8. Abraham believed in God. He had absolute faith and trust in God. He knew that God's covenant will continue through Isaac, and his seed will multiply through him. Abraham knew that God would keep His promise even if He had to raise Isaac from the dead. Not only Abraham was willing to sacrifice Isaac, his only son, Isaac himself was willing to be sacrificed. Because of Abraham's obedience and willingness even to sacrifice his only son, God sent His angel and stopped the sacrifice, and Isaac was spared. The Abraham saw a ram caught in the thicket by his horns. He went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering in the place of his son Isaac. Nahor's children. Afterwards, Abraham was told, "Milcah too has borne children to your brother Nahor. Uz, his firstborn, Bus, his brother, Kemuel, the father of Aram, Kesed, Hazo, Pildash, Idlaf, and Betuel."